This is a remix that I did for my friends in Australia, and it came off of a track called Warpaint, and so the remix is Warpaint. But what I like to do with a remix is not do a remix. I like to make a totally new track usually and call it a remix. So I'm going to give you a taste of
famous and tall, pretty rich and all. Long list of broken dreams that make you feel small. Only one tiny soldier trekking through the street, shot by the fresh skills of girls of 19. She got the pearly white flashing light in your eyes, pretty lashes melting over her dancing thighs. Watching it melting in the old screen light. She shines like the diamond covered from the night. Keep your eye on the ball, we roll straight ahead. You're better off staying clean than ending up dead. Jokes that make you old where you're making no sense. You're wasting all your dollars but you're making no sense. So let's all escape in the lines of white snow. Search but in the end you only find the hard road. You're looking for the answer but you already know. Call on me soldiers, raise up and take to your feet.
Okay, so I didn't know what I was going to do with this because I don't work with a lot of vocals. So what I ended up taking out of this mix is I got the folders and then I just took this one little vocal. And now I'll show you what came out of this track, which is a little bit different than what we have here. So what I've done here is what we were talking about in the last track, however you watch this video, I don't know what order.
Call on me soldiers.
There's the Call on Me Soldiers, pitched down a little bit, but kept in the same time. And what I've done is, one of my usual tricks is copying the line, the melody line, 3 times or 4 times or however many times, and then putting different effects on the other lines or making them in different octaves. So you'll start to hear this line will start to pop. You'll start to hear. So they're the same line, but the top line is actually moved over, and the bottom line is actually moved over even a little more. So they're actually just playing the same line, but in different octaves, and then run next to each other. So it sounds really organic and they'd have different reverbs on them. So it sounds like the synthesizer just kind of like climbing and falling, but it's really all the same sound on the same line, just shifted an octave up and octave down. It really gives it a nice live feeling. Now the main sound in this track, which is coming on now, is a hardware sound that I made with this radius over here, where I've just basically taken almost like a noise car sound and swept the filter for a long time, and then put it in audio editor and just done a general pitch shift, not a pitch shift where you keep the same duration even, just like an actual pitch shift, so there's no distortion. And then I just load it into the sampler and just hit it hard off when the clap comes on, and it just gives you this effect that you're building up and then just snapping out of it and going back into this deep, dubby techno riff with the octaving thing. And the only sample from the original is Call Me Soldiers. I don't even know what Call Me Soldiers. Right. Club track because it really hits on the really low. There's almost no kick. The kick is very minimal. The kick is almost all on the bass. You're following that more than, which is a lot of my tracks. I try not to have a really, really heavy kick because I feel the funk is not in the punching kick drum. The funk is in everything outside of that. And then that sound on the bottom that you're hearing is super basic. It's just a little sound from the song. And And then I just literally went, like, literally I just sat there and went like this and then quantized it. And then the whole time that that's on, you'll hear that this is another trick that I use all the time, where you have a sound on and you filter it in and out, up and down the whole track. So it gives you like a feeling of a wave feeling, like you're going up and down. I did this a lot in Who's Afraid of Detroit with just a simple string patch, where the envelope is just opening and closing, and it gives you a real emotional like swing. So that by the end of this song, this thing is like opening up all the way. Like that's after the main thing is dropped, so that's all the way open at the end. It's just like something extra. I think one of the keys to a really cool track is that if you come back after the main break and there's either a completely new element or an element that's come up from being really low the whole time, or you actually completely change the bass line for a few bars and then go back to the original bass line. That doesn't happen so much in this remix, but that's a trick that I use almost every time, like the old switcheroony on the bass line, and then you come back to the song, and then when you come back to the original song, everyone's like, "Wah!" This is also very much like the one we just talked about. My basses are usually always run through distortion. This is just a different 808 kick with nothing on. It's just run through the tape. It's like the exact... It's run through the tape, and it's just a little more heavily compressed and pushed on the output gain, because the Reason has a compressor at the end of its chain, even past the mastering suite that I always put on, but up in here somewhere where no one sees what's going on, the Reason has something that really crunches down, but it crunches down in a really nice way. It doesn't clamp like some other programs, especially with bass. I find that the hotter that you run Reason, the better sound you get, which is totally counterintuitive to every instructional mastering engineer, whatever, everything. But it's the truth for this program. That's how I get everything to sound right.
Where'd you get like the individual drum sounds and stuff from? Are they synthetic from like 808 stuff, or they samples?
The kick, I'm using just, the kick is super generic.
It's tiny as well.
That's about as basic as you can get, right?
It's tiny as well.
Yeah,
Like I said,
it just has a little bit of, it's tiny, and I've taken any edge off of it. It's just a little bit warm in the it's not abrasive at all. It's tiny on purpose because what I was saying, I feel like the smaller the kick, the more the rest of the song drives the song, and you can make house songs that don't sound like house songs if you have a tiny kick. I do have big kick songs, but it's cooler to have a small kick. Right. Hi-hat, super basic. If you really listen to this, everything's really simple. I mean, is that the most basic pattern on earth or what? Just a nice little thing. It's just the rest of the song drives the song. There's no reason to like do a whole bunch of fancy programming in this one, because everything else is so gigantic sounding that you wouldn't even hear it anyway. Like that, once that's on, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what else is going on. Every once in a while, when I make a super basic loop like this that sucks, it's a good idea to go in and get something that's actually live, that is from like a swinging pattern. And even though this seems super ghetto and basic, this little loop just gives that other loop a little bit of a feel, because that other loop was very Casio keyboardish, wasn't it? See, so these loops are actually like live loops, probably just from the Reason sound bank that I've just like put a low pass or a high pass filter on and just kept the element that I wanted, and that'll give you a little bit of a feel. It's just a backbeat basically if you have a really generic beat. So right now we are in my very basic loop with no... I've probably gone in and pushed things back a little or whatever, but it's very generic. And just to give it a little bit of... It just gives it a little swing. That's what the live added just there, those last two. And maybe a little sheen on top. So it's not so like little things that are like swingy little fills.
How'd you get the groove? Is that a reason to swing or something?
No, I just literally go in, dun, 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 dun. Like those are all from the regular old drum machine in Reason. Literally, like
So
put the kick drum on the 1, 5, 9, and 13. Like that's it. There is no swing. If there's a swing, it's because I went in and just shifted them back like 3 cents or something. Which I usually do with my hi-hats. I go in and shift them back anywhere between 3 and 7 cents or whatever these pixels. I don't even know what they are. And that usually gives it a little more of a stoner feel. Like a little bit more like you're not just like punching in the face. It's a little bit more in the pocket. And I always do the reverse snare at the end of a phrase. I just can't get over it. It's an old Juan Atkins thing, and I just thought it was the best thing ever, and I still love that sound, that reverse snare. Like there's nothing going on in this beat, but it's still cool, right?